So I set these up. These are the same passages that we had all written in the key of G. We're going to work on some key changes, and the purpose of the key change is to shift what the key focus is in relative motion. Like, it doesn't matter what key we start in, it's about what key we move to and what key we move from. And the reason that this is important is we talked a little bit about how we can make a more impact if we allow the passages to be tighter in terms of which range they're using. So we tighten up the range so that we can go broad with it, so it fills it out better. In the same way, by changing, because pitch is equivalent to frequency, by changing which pitch we're in, which key signature we're in, we'll actually feel it rise and fall between these key changes. So a couple things we could do, and let's see. One basic rule is to shift. We could shift to the sixth degree of the original key. So if we were to look at the key, we're in the key of G, and we count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If we drop down to instead of having the melody, so the melody is here. The melody starts on G and it goes. If we drop it down to start on the sixth, and the sixth becomes the new key, it would be on the key in the key of E. It would go. Does that make sense? So we'd go from. One other thing is, if we wanted to make it minor, we could start it on the sixth and make it a minor key, and instead of having it be, we could modulate it so it actually jumped down to that, and instead it went. In essentially relative motion, it would be the relative minor of the original key. The other thing we could do, if we could move, let's see, we could walk to. We can move up a third with the key change. So it starts on B instead. It's an option. And we can move to the, let's see, fourth, where it starts on C. And here's the difference. The reason why that's important is because right now this is the key we're in. If in the next set, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the tool window, and then I'm going to drop this down. Now, the pitch is all set, and this transpose is in semitones. So you need to know essentially half steps. So you need to know how many half steps you're moving. So if I go to the sixth, let's say I go to the sixth, on the sixth is E. I'm going to go down half step, half step, half step. So 3 half steps, okay? So I'm going to take the whole thing as a group. You have to do them all as a group, and they're going to go down 3. So it's just going to be -3. Now, the reason I'm going down, the big thing here is it's just like in music. There's a couple things we could do. If we go down, then when we return to the original key, it feels like we're rising. And that's what's kind of weird about the key signatures. When we're adjusting key signatures or changing key signatures, a lot of times the purpose is just have a different tonal dynamic. Now, this is kind of a loop set, so we're still only doing one phrase. If we had multiple phrases going on, it would be a little more complex. It would feel a little more fluid. We're still just doing this just one basic phrase. But by shifting the key, if we shift it upward, it feels like it rises. If we shift it downward, it feels like it lowers, okay? And if what we want to do is, and I do this all the time in pop music, like let's say we write a song and you're the vocalist and the song is in your vocal sweet spot, but we want to do a key change and we want to bump it up one to make it rise. Well, we have 2 options. We could either have you, for the majority of the song, be in the key that fits you appropriately, and then do the key change towards the end, and for that one section, you have to struggle through it because it's a little higher for you. It doesn't sound as strong. Or we can instead lower the whole song, and it's not as great a range for you until the very end when it key changes, okay? Obviously, both of those are a problem because it always puts you in a spot where you're not excelling. Like in option 1, the end of the song isn't going to be as strong because you're going to be at your weakest at that point. Option 2, the rest of the majority of the song is going to be at your weak spot until the end. So we have to wait till the end for you to be in the sweet spot of your range. So what do we do? What we do is we put the whole song in the main key, the whole song in the key that works for you, and we fake a key change rise as we want to at the end by maybe going to the bridge or somewhere in the middle and lowering it for a short section. So we are in the sweet spot, we lower it for a short section so that we can return back to where we were, and it feels like the key change went upward, even though technically it's still the original key that your voice was best suited for. Does that make sense? So a lot of times you'll do that in the same thing with orchestration or these kinds of compositions where you're kind of faking these key changes so that you kind of, when you return back to where you are, it feels like you're brighter. So watch how this works. We're going to go down to 3. And it'll go back. Now, let's say in the next set we'll go down -5. Now, the one thing that's changing is it's not the exact same phrase, so that we're still shifting those parts. And let's say we do just a lower second. So watch what happens. This is when it's returning back to the key. See how it felt like it went up? And let's say I might just do this one. I'm actually going to duplicate this one a couple times just so that you can kind of feel the way this would go if it was the exact same part we were shifting. So like I have a part here. Let me try something. All right, now that we've returned home and we have everybody shifted, we're going to go to talking about one last thing, and then we're going to break out into your part writing. And then we'll review. Now, the reason I'm giving you all these concepts up front, we're going to probably have to go back over them as we go through, is to kind of give you an array of things that you can do when you start to break out into your parts. That'll give you a little more variance than just having to make new parts for every single phrase. So you're going to start out, when you do your part writing, you're going to start out with sketches. We're going to choose a good sketch as your mainstay. You'll build a harmony and a counter melody. You'll make decisions about which octaves are being voiced and duplicated, maybe doubling one of the octaves, and then we'll make some key change adjustments along the way to kind of get it to be a little more dynamic. Now the next step, or the next level to this, is modulation. So let me switch over real quick.